Alright, hello everybody. This is Stormwaffle, or Andrew, whatever. Not the greatest way to return to YouTube after like 4 years of absence, but hey, here we are. I am joined here today by Prototypical, otherwise known as Matthew. How you doing?
I agree.
Alright, sounds good. So, yeah, today, as you... Oh, that was a great voice crack right there. As you've probably read in the title, we are going to be discussing the reveal of Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee. And Matthew and myself are longtime Pokemon fans, coming at this from the angle of, you could say, hardcore. I've been a fan of Pokemon for over a decade now, and Matthew has been playing for a couple years longer than I have.
I think I started somewhere between 4 and 6 years old with Fire Red on the Game Boy, and since that it's been a perpetual downward spiral into insanity, and I've loved it the entire time. I think following Black and White, I had a falling out where I thought, man, Pokemon's for little kids, and I don't play that anymore. I'm a big boy now. And that lasted up until Black and White 2 released, and I picked it up a few months later.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's actually exactly what happened to me, except I started with Pokemon Pearl, first video game ever. And then, I mean, my grandma actually bought me Pokemon Emerald and Pokemon Fire Red just randomly one day, so thanks Grandma. But, so, basically trying to say is that Matthew and I have very similar history with this series. And as any of you who are fans of Pokemon know, the Pokemon Let's Go, like the two Let's Go games, Pikachu and Eevee, they seem to be departures from the series norms, and we're just, we're here to just talk about it because, we love the series and we want to talk about the new games. So anything to add just before we hop into it, Matt?
Nothing important.
All right. And I'm just going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time for two things. One, we are currently recording this in a large empty room with a snowball mic on an old kitchen table. So the audio quality might not be the greatest. This is the first time we're doing anything like this. And also, I have a little bit of allergies going on right now. So forgive me if you just hear random coughing throughout the podcast. I know it's not the greatest re-entry to come from a 11-year-old squeaker voice of a balloon losing air in a room full of nothing but screaming 2-year-olds to sounding like I'm about to die. But hey, here we are. So with that lovely little piece of information, shall we?
Yeah.
There's the first one. Alright, so, I've just prepared a couple, conversation topics to start out, and, when you watch these trailers, or this one trailer, sorry, just immediately the first thing that stuck out in my mind was the presentation. These games look gorgeous,
They are beautiful games in every regard.
So, because these are the first HD Pokemon games that we're seeing, aside from Pokemon Rumble U, and, let's face it, we don't like to talk about that one. I don't even know what to say. We're looking at a picture right now that I'll put up on screen of, the male trainer with the Pikachu on his back. Running through Pallet Town, and I don't even know how you would even this game. This looks amazing. Because I remember playing Pokemon Fire Red on my Game Boy Advance, and just seeing this looking HD and dank like this, man. What do you think?
I'm just honestly amazed, not even with Pokemon, but with the progress that video games have made. Because I remember at the time seeing the 2D sprites in Pokemon as a kid I thought that was the peak of art itself.
Mm.
Seeing this dude, you see this dude. I was like, huh, look at this dude. And I thought, that looks like a good representation of a man. Now we're seeing this dude in HD, and I can't believe how beautiful he is.
Nice. So just a couple of things that I want to just talk about really quick. The last games that we got for Pokemon Mainline were Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and this is very clearly running on an entirely new engine. Like, this is, it looks a little bit, I don't know how to say, like a little more cartoony than Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon.
It looks like they went back to X and Y's chibi-esque characters.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because you had the playable characters in Sun and Moon were like, they were normally proportioned.
Yeah, they weren't gremlins, is what it was.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's an all right way to put it, because like we're back to the chibi style. I think this looks better than the X and Y chibi style.
I also think for the atmosphere of the game, it suits it very well. It's supposed to be a lighthearted adventure. That's how it's being presented. So I think the cartoony style behind it, cartoony being a relative term, because after all, it's Pokemon. And even when it got more realistic,
yeah, like we're not talking like the Wind Waker to your standard Zelda.
I think the art direction they chose to go in befits the atmosphere and tone of the game. It's meant to be a casual and fun adventure, romping through the grass.
Yeah, and so I don't think there's really much more to say on the presentation. These games look great. It's going to be so cool to see an HD game, like an HD Pokemon game on your Switch. You can play this on your TV, which, bit of a side note, let us just say thank you so much for putting these on a system where you don't have to rely on like these random 3DS capture card sellers that have a monopoly. Like, I don't want to spend $700 to record one system. Like, I can use my Elgato on this one, and maybe I'll actually do something on like YouTube aside from just talking into a mic about a Pokemon game.
Maybe you'll actually get gameplay.
And still talking to a mic about a Pokemon game. But, like, yeah, that's all I have to say for that. But, that actually, we were talking about something earlier where we were talking about Fire Red and Pallet Town and how we were amazed, but this, like...
If it weren't for knowing this were a remake, I don't think I'd be able to recognize this as Pallet Town just for the sheer progress they've made in the graphics.
Yeah, that is true. The one thing I was going to say was, while we were talking about Fire Red, that's not exactly the case, because these games are a remake of Pokemon Yellow.
That's true.
Which, I actually, I started with Gen 4, went back to Gen 3. Recently, I actually acquired a copy of Pokemon Yellow, like an original cartridge, and then shortly later the 3DS Virtual Console version came out, so thank you, I wasted $20 extra for that, but you know what? It's a piece of history. Pokemon Yellow, that getting remade, that's really interesting to me, because Pokemon Yellow, as one of the main series games, and I don't think you've played Pokemon Yellow, have you?
Honestly, unless you're mentioning it, I tend to forget that it exists. Because right. I think it's hit that unfortunate point where for most of the community, unless you've been there for the inception of Pokemon, it's sort of faded into history.
Yeah, so that's one other thing to point out. There's a lot of, you've got, Game Explain who are giving their view, and a whole bunch of people who, they were there for the start of the Pokemon series, and Matthew and I were not, and so it's pretty interesting to see, even though Pokemon was a big part of our childhood, the people who've been around with the series for 20 years, seeing their first games getting remade into HD. But what I was going to say was two things. First, Pokemon Yellow had a couple unusual things to it, which is, and honestly, I'm still a little bit in disbelief that we're getting a remake of Yellow. because I mean, first of all, rip Gen 4 remake.
There's hope yet.
Yeah,
There's hope.
but I wanted it now. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so in Pokemon Yellow, I think we were talking about this earlier on, like just before we started recording. You know, you get your Pikachu as a starter, and your rival gets an Eevee. So I think it actually, seeing as they're doing the two versions, I think it makes sense that you start with an Eevee.
So now I'm confused about the rivals, but I think we can talk about that later.
Oh yeah. I just want to. I'll say my two pieces here, and we'll talk. But the interesting thing is that your Pikachu in Pokemon Yellow couldn't evolve, and that was, mitigated somewhat. I think I could be completely just talking out of my ass here, but I think the Light Ball was in Pokemon Yellow. Actually, I'll look that up right now. But
I feel like it was a later edition.
Let's see here.
It was Gen 5.
Okay, so it was introduced in Gen 2, so I'm completely wrong.
I was way off.
I mean, I typically just evolve my Pikachu, so but it never seemed to be a huge handicap to have your Pikachu not evolve. Pikachu could hold its own. Eevee, apparently it's also, I read somewhere that Eevee is also not going to be able to evolve. They're going to be bringing that little feature back. And with Pikachu, since this is, a remake with modern Pokemon, you can probably get your Pikachu to have a Light Ball. Do you think they're going to introduce an item like that for Eevee?
Either the Light Ball isn't going to be part of this game, or they're going to have to do something for Eevee.
Well,
because Eevee's whole deal is the multiple pathways of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not part of the game, which I can actually respect for this title, I get why they're doing it, and I actually happen to enjoy that idea. There's got to be something to help Eevee out. Otherwise, you're going to end up real far behind the rest of the game with Eevee unevolved.
Yeah, but they'll figure something out, and I could be completely wrong that Eevee's not going to be able to evolve, but I thought I saw that somewhere, and I thought it would just be good to bring up.
I feel like it would be interesting to have Pikachu on one side and Eevee on the other, or one we know isn't going to evolve, or maybe it will, but just into Raichu. And then Eevee has all these different pathways. It seems kind of unbalanced in either direction depending on your perspective on it.
Right. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up is this is the first third version game to get a remake. Like with Fire Red and Leaf Green, those were remakes of Red and Green. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, not Crystal. And then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Maybe they're setting a precedent, which I don't have an issue with.
Just for a little bit of disclosure here, my favorite Pokemon game is Platinum. I think Matthew says the same thing.
I'd have to
So,
agree there.
hey, does this mean that we're getting our Platinum remake? Please, maybe, thanks, yes.
Listen, Giratina.
Girantina, great pronunciation.
That's how I've pronounced it since I first read it. For the most part, I will correct myself if I've learned I've been pronouncing a Pokemon's name wrong. Not with that one. Not with that one.
All right. One thing I forgot about, but I think we should still probably tackle.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say I hate leaks. Because if you're part of the Pokemon community, if you go online, you've known these games are coming. Like, you saw, I think the guy's name on, I think it was on 4chan, was Real Leaks. And he predicted all of this, that it was going to have Pokemon Go catching, which we'll talk about later. Pretty much, he predicted everything right down to, like, the finest details. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to stick that in there because I think it's just not.
Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah.
If we want to bring the Navy into this, but I
Good.
think my favorite part is even amongst all the leaks, the fan base knew exactly what was coming. This trailer was released, and everyone still got hyped up and out of their chairs.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you've got your let's say
not everyone
dislikes. It's got 20,000 dislikes, but I think I think we just gotta.
People dislike change, which is fair because when I first saw this game, I too thought that Pokemon was going in the wrong direction.
Oh, for sure. I saw the same thing and I was a little bit concerned. But I'm not really concerned much anymore, just for reasons we'll get into a little later. But yeah,
I think it's time we move to the next thing. I'm imagining how long they've been staring at this image.
Oh, yeah. The one thing is I'm not actually recording the screen. I'm just recording the audio. So I'm gonna be inserting the images as we go along for a little variety. So hey, we're new to this, so we don't really know what the heck we're doing. But yeah, let me just pull out the old topics list. Oh, okay. So a little bit of a jump around there, but this game has co-op, and I don't think that was in the leak.
I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah,
I think the last time I've heard of co-op in a Pokemon game was Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs, and we all know what a mess that was. But
I mean, it was fun, but it was dumb fun.
It was fun, but it was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, because I mean, the problem with that game, you could barely get like a group. You needed like 4 people, and it's hard to get 4 people who are into Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs.
Still waiting for the next installment of the series.
We're not getting it.
It's over.
We're done. Rip Ranger.
There's no touchscreen on this Switch. Is there touchscreen on the Switch?
Yeah, the Switch is touchscreen, but like they're not. I doubt they're going to do it because you're going to have to put it on the TV, and like I doubt they're going to have motion controlled stylers. But who knows?
They're doing it with the catching in this game, so who knows?
I mean, we're getting a little sidetracked, but
anyway.
Hey, Game Freak, if you're watching, which you're not, please give us Ranger, please. But yeah, I don't like I saw when I was watching the trailer for the first time, I saw co-op, and I think the first thing I thought was, because like
I'm confused how they're going to implement it.
Well,
but
I think I know how we're going to implement it, but it kind of breaks the game in half.
Yes. I don't know if you're using your own Pokemon or if it's a couch co-op and you're using part of their party.
So what we see in the trailer so far was it's on the same system.
Okay.
So it's probably going to be using the system owner's party, but let's see if I have the picture here. Yeah, so the battle UI that like the most we really get to see of it is a double battle between one of the bug catchers on Nugget Bridge and the 2 playable characters. Co-op is on, and it's turning into like you remember SOS battles from Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, where you got your 1v2s?
Yeah.
It's like that. Excuse me. It's like that, except you're the tank of like freak of nature.
I feel like I'm concerned that unless there's some way to balance it for the enemy trainer, even though we're talking about an NPC here, it's unfair. Like, if you take a game where it's a one-on-one battle, an honorable duel, and then you just have your friend come over and shoot them in the side of the head, like.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I think it's unfair. I hope there's some way that it's balanced. Otherwise, you're just going to be able to steamroll the game. Which, to be fair, we're sizing this up as more of a casual.
Yeah, this game is clearly a much more casual entry, and like we'll talk about like whether it's a spin-off or a main series, like a black sheep of the main series, a little later on. But like,
I still think there is a certain level where you can't say, "Oh, well, it's casual, so it can be really easy," because, in my opinion, even the easier games, I get the most satisfaction about overcoming a challenge. And if there's no challenge in the game, I can't even enjoy something that's relaxing.
Oh, and by the way, I think this is a good time to mention that we will be talking about past Pokemon entries and like the content, if we want to, the contents within them. So if for some reason a year has gone by and you haven't played Ultra Sun and Moon, you know where the X button is on the window. Go on, get out of here.
Don't know how feasible it is to pause the video and play through the entirety of the game and then come back to it, but whatever you do, we'll be here.
Okay, they gone? Alright, sick. But when we're talking about a challenge, like the Ultra Necrozma fight in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, that was kind of unfair, but I like that fight. I thought it was just fun.
It was fun. Until I realized that I could accidentally cheese it with a Zoroark.
That's exactly what I did as well, but you know what, fate of the world, you know?
Then it was still fun, but only because it was hilarious.
Yeah, but I think that they're probably not going to balance this out. And
I don't see how they could.
The thing is here that I'm sort of using, it's optional. You don't have to play this game with a friend. You can play this game entirely on your own, and it will be the same, but if you want to play it with friends, the option is there for you. It
seems like a fun couch co-op that is less of a main series game and more of a, I don't even want to say nostalgic, because I think it's supposed to bring in new players as well, but a love letter to the origins of the series as sort of a guided tour through Kanto. Yeah, so that gets a little bit into something that I was going to talk about a little later. So what we'll do is we'll just talk about a little bit more. So I mean, my closing thoughts on co-op is, yeah, I think it's a fun addition to the game. I think it fits the experimental nature of this title. I'm sure I'll be mentioning a lot about how I think this is Nintendo's experimental entry into the series. And I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. So this is the just sort of miscellaneous category. I'm just going to talk about like things I've noticed, but not everything because we've got more stuff to talk about, and some of the things that I'm not exactly thrilled about. And I don't know about you, Matthew, but you might be somewhere along the same lines as me. But so I'll throw the picture up on the screen. It's not a great picture just because it's really small, but I was able to get a screenshot in the trailer that it shows what might be, I think, is the menu. And it looks really bare bones. It's 3 options. Save your progress, take your Pokemon for a stroll in the Pokemon Plus accessory, which we'll get to, and back to your adventure. So this doesn't seem like a subset of the menu. That seems like it is the menu. So yeah, if the exit button brings you straight back to the gameplay, then I'm concerned. If we give it the benefit of the doubt, maybe it's a secondary menu that you can open up. I think that's probably what it is, because this implies that effectively there's no items. Yeah, which we know not to be true, because we saw in the catching interface, if I can find a picture of that, here, you've got items. And also that would imply there's no way to change around your Pokemon, which they're not going to do that. I think this is going to be just a secondary menu, but that'll lead us into the Pokemon Plus accessory, which I want to talk about a little later. But there's a couple more things that I've noticed. Well, number one, we see Team Rocket's back, of course. This is Kanto. Is that Pikachu wearing clothing? Oh, yeah. There's a little bit of I guess we'll talk about that as well. There's you can customize your Pikachu or your Eevee. Who needs trainer customization when you can have Pokemon customization? Not me. Let me see here. Where's the image? So like, you can put clothes on your Pikachu and Eevee, which I don't know. I think that's kind of cute. I don't know how I didn't notice that until just now. Get eyes. But yeah, Team Rocket's back. Not really sure what to say. You know, it actually might be cool. I mean, part of me hopes that they don't do this, because
I'm not a huge fan of like the new like Pokemon multiverse, like dimension shifting stuff that they've got going on.
Now the Looker theory, on the other hand, that I enjoyed, sort of, but
Okay, Looker is pretty cool, but at the end of Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, you have episode Rainbow Rocket. Do you think? Because apparently, from that leak, real leaks said that this was your character is going to be a new trainer, and Red and Blue are going to play a role in the story. So this might not be an exact remake of Pokemon Yellow, more like a reimagining, maybe like a couple years later, which opens up the door to a whole bunch of new possibilities. A couple that jump out in my mind, which I'm not sure if they are the case. They probably won't be, because you open up an entire new like Pandora's box here. But like, what if Lily comes in? Because at the end of Sun and Moon, the original, she goes to Kanto to train and find a cure for her mother. But even more, at the end of Rainbow Rocket, so back to what I was originally saying, Giovanni says what was it? Somewhere along the lines of like, now which world should I go off to next?
yeah.
What if he winds up in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee?
I think first of all he'd be very confused, but
Oh, two Giovannis? That would be good.
well, not even that, but just because clearly Pokemon Let's Go follows a different set of rules.
I don't know how much they're really going to address the.
I don't know how that's
change.
affecting the lore, but
Who knows? We're just sort of spitballing here.
that started out as a joke, but then it
yeah.
turned into something serious.
Yeah,
If we want to look at this, just
surface level.
fact and surface level,
Team
the
Rocket.
Rocket Grunt has a red R on his.
So it's not
Sure.
the Rainbow Rocket Grunt.
So
Also, his head is big.
his big head.
Part of me is hoping that this is the lift key guy, but part of me is sure that I am wrong. Anyways, let's get into.
Because if this takes place directly, if we suppose that this takes place after the events of Red and Blue or the original Yellow, and you're a new trainer, but Red and Blue are present, in the events, doesn't Giovanni disappear and Team Rocket sort of gets...
That falls into Gold and Silver. I
Yeah.
think we're probably going a bit too much into the
So it's
weeds.
probably going to have to be a different timeline or what have you, but we don't know nearly enough to start even making...
Also, this is Pokemon. Let's not worry about it.
Let's just not worry. Unless Looker's involved, then let's worry about it.
That's true. Okay, so this is going to transition us in. Oh, actually, no, sorry. One more thing I want to talk about, which I'm certain you're happy
Dang,
about.
that Gengar thick!
All right. Well, thanks for that. But what I'm certain you're kind of excited for, and I'm excited for it too, but I know you've been saying this for a while, following Pokemon appeared to be back.
It came and went like a dream in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and I missed it so.
And now it's back.
And now it's back, and I hope it's back for the next main series game.
Yeah, me too.
But
actually, that's one thing to keep in mind. I think it was in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. They found fully animated walking models for every Pokemon in the game.
I think they were toying around with the
They
idea.
went either toying around with it or they were preparing the assets for the next main series Pokemon game. Because I don't know if we've mentioned this yet. Probably already have, but Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are only going to have the original 151.
Which I think
So
is
the rest
perfect.
the rest of like the 650 some odd Pokemon are going to go completely unused in terms of their walking animations. But
and the fact that it's a different art style, so you know
Yeah.
it can't show up in this game.
well, it's the same art style for everything.
I suppose.
Except like trainer models and stuff.
I suppose.
Like the Pokemon look pretty much exactly the same. One other thing that I see there is the cut tree.
Look at that.
So my question is, because I know Real Leaks said that Pokéride from Gen 7 was going to be making a return. Do you think that that's going to be the case, or?
Well, we see you riding on an Onix at one point, and that's pretty dope. But
I think it might just be that some Pokemon you can ride on. Do you think they're going to be replacing HMs with like Pokéride?
I don't know, because the reasoning was for Pokéride that in Alola they just didn't have HMs and they used Pokéride. But for this game, you're back in Kanto, where the HM originated, much like most of the Pokemon series. So I don't know if they're going to go with the HMs or the Pokéride. Either works for me, because for the most part, HMs ended up slapped onto my Bidoof HM slave.
Yeah, I mean,
They were a gameplay mechanic that, in theory, worked, but in execution tended to annoy most of the players.
Yeah. Yeah, I want Pokéride. HMs don't work for me anymore. I've been spoiled. But speaking of riding,
You've tasted the sweet nectar.
Yep, we do in fact see the male trainer riding on a Charizard.
Okay, so now I'm just confused, because what? Charizard in the lore is like 4'10", right? And this trainer's got to be like 3 feet tall.
Look, we know Pokedex entries are not good.
I'm telling you, this trainer's got to be like 3 feet tall. He's a gremlin. What can I say?
All right. Oh yeah, last thing along the miscellaneous lines.
Though you're definitely flying differently, because you're actually riding the Charizard through the route.
So, who knows if they're going to bring back Pokéride? I hope they do, but like, we clearly see that you can ride Pokemon in some context. I just hope that they get rid of HM.
And if in the previous games the only way to get a Charmander would be to get it as your starter, so the fact that you're riding on a Charizard either means there's some opportunity to catch a Charmander,
that's also something to say.
It's a ride.
That's also something to say. We can see here in the battle with the bug catcher, your trainer has a Pikachu and a Bulbasaur. And I know in the original Yellow, there were events to get you all 3 of the starters.
Maybe those will be implemented?
Yeah, so like, because I remember, I think one of them was like you went to the north of Cerulean City and the lady just was like, hey, take this. I think it was Bulbasaur for some reason.
Take my plant turtle!
Yep.
Although I could also use Travel Turtle, which would be a rule breaking out.
Yep.
What is Bulbasaur?
Plant dinosaur.
Yeah, it's a dinosaur. Sword. Bulbasaur. Oh, Pokemon at it again. Oh,
Pokemon at it again 20 years ago.
oh.
Yeah. But yeah, so the one thing that I don't think we've addressed, but is very much important, is the fact that there are now Pokemon in the overworld. It doesn't look like you're running into wild Pokemon just randomly in the grass. It looks like you actually run into them in the overworld.
Now, other than the fact that it's to continue with effectively the remaking of Kanto, I wonder if the tall grass is actually going to play a role if you can find Pokemon in the overworld. Whether they will be roaming around patches of tall grass, because we saw a Ponyta before just standing in the middle of the road.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to be limited to the tall grass, but it's clear that you can find some in the tall grass. Maybe the tall grass, like, that's like the area where the Pokemon like spawn, and then they can just walk around the map.
Maybe you'll see it rustle and one will pop out, so it's not just you walk into the route and you see these Pokemon, and that's all you're getting this route for now.
Who knows?
I can say for sure though, it will definitely relieve a lot of the anxiety where every step you take isn't suddenly going to launch into a battle theme.
Yeah, that's true.
You're like, you're tiptoeing, and then next thing you know, the screen's flashing, and you're like, oh boy.
Yep. All right, so I guess we'll just launch into the part where I'm slightly concerned, but you know, whatever. I think it might still be fun. Wild Pokemon battles are completely out the window. And they're replaced with the catching minigame from Pokemon Go. And I don't know how to feel about that, because it's basically solidified this game as a spin-off. The one thing I am going to say is, when you're looking at Pokemon Let's Go, you really have to look at it in conjunction with the announcement that Pokemon Switch is coming in 2019. This is not the next core series game, this is like an experimental title.
Yes, I had a lot of concerns when I first heard leaks about this and when we first started discussing this,
Yeah.
and then when we saw the trailer, because I thought, if this is the direction Pokemon is going in, I don't know if I can stay with it, which is a terrible feeling for me to have because I really don't want to have to leave a series that I've loved for years.
Yeah, I said, is this what it's like to be a Metal Gear fan? But
then luckily there was the announcement that the next main series game will be coming out, which told me that Pokemon Let's Go
is an
an experimental title, which I think game developers and game companies are completely within their rights to create, because unless you experiment and release a title for people to consume and release their their feelings, their feedback on, you're never going to know what works and what the people want.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's true.
I think in this case they made a lot of changes, and that's completely okay for an experimental title.
Mm.
Because unless you experiment, you're never going to make progress.
Yeah. I think that's well said. So, it's very clear that this game is basically Pokemon Go meets regular Pokemon.
It's the bridge.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about in just a sec, about how, like, the implications of that. But I just thought it would be interesting to point out here. This is, the battle with the Clefairy. It's in co-op mode. You've got your get ready items, help and run away.
Bouncing your balls.
Okay. But get ready is very clearly going to be the just get ready to throw. Excuse me. Items is probably going to be like using like the berries like you would in Pokemon Go to make your chances easier. It's basically turning into the Safari Zone.
Oh boy, the Safari Zone.
Yeah.
What if I just huck more rocks at it?
Yeah. But
Animal violence.
the one thing that was in Pokemon Go, and let's just put this out here. Pokemon Go is a great social experiment. That's not a great game.
Great social experiment in the fact that we got to see humanity at its best and at its worst.
Yeah.
And
You know
what I'm talking
all
about.
jokes aside, it was a fun experience to do with your friends, walking around catching Pokemon. The game mechanics were trash. Like, CP didn't really make much sense. The battles were just endless tap fests of, like, it was a war of attrition.
There was some semblance of, thinking kind of tactically with swipes and taps, but when it came down to it,
it was also kind of broken.
Yeah, half the battles you would dodge and then you'd still get hit, and I think that is just chalked up to the nature of the connectivity in the game.
Yeah.
It works in theory.
So here we see Clefairy has CP 60, but it's also level 10. So both CP and level work into this somehow. And if we go back to the battle interface, what struck me is that, where is it? Sorry, I'm not very organized. Oh, here it is. CP doesn't appear to be anywhere. So,
Well, do we know what CP stands for? Is it
I think it's combat power.
combat potential, maybe?
Combat power?
Because I feel like if we interpret it as potential, even though that's probably not at all what it is.
Yeah, I think they've said it's combat power in Pokemon Go. But, like, I don't know. Because it seems like CP doesn't really do anything once you catch the Pokemon. But we see here with the Psyduck, which is level 13, it's 3 levels higher. It's about 30 CP higher, so maybe it's like 10 CP to a level. It's just for a frame of reference for Pokemon Go play.
Yeah, if we do take it into account, considering the Pokemon Go connectivity, if you only see the level and you think, oh, this is a great Pokemon, and you transfer it into your Pokemon Go, I believe you can transfer it both ways, right?
No, actually, they've come out and said
No,
it's only going to be, which we'll talk about a little. I want to talk about next. It's going to be one way from Pokemon Go to Let's Go.
Okay, that changed it, because I was thinking maybe it was a justification so you'd know what you're catching before you decide to send it over to Pokemon Go, but if you can only send it from Pokemon Go into Pokemon Let's Go, I guess what you're saying by a frame of reference, you can sort of get put together that level 13 gets you around CP 90, so when you have your CP 500 in Pokemon Go, when you transfer it over, you can have a general idea of what level it's going to come out
The
as.
other thing that's kind of interesting is you have Pokemon that are like like there was this one guy in my neighborhood who had like a CP like 3100 Dragonite. You're not gonna have a level like 300 coming into the game.
Yeah.
So
It's got to be
there's going
exponential.
I don't know. We'll see what's going on. I think it could be that CP works like experience, getting drastically bigger, or it just could be like an indication of potential. Like Matt was saying. We'll see what happens. It doesn't look like they haven't dropped levels for CP, which at least appeases me. So, you know, the only real Pokemon Go elements that are going to be in the main game itself is catching the Pokemon, which, honestly, I'll see how it goes. I honestly think it could be kind of fun.
My only concern is with the obvious decrease in wild encounters, presumably, and the lack of wild encounter battles.
No grinding.
There's going to be no experience gain outside of trainer battles. Which also means there's no experience grinding, which is my go-to gameplay method. Don't go to a gym battle unless you're already 10 levels too high for it.
This is why you can't get challenges.
I can't imagine what the gameplay is going to look like in terms of progression. It can't be that difficult if you can't prepare for it.
So the thing that you just brought up, I'm going to redirect to Pokemon XD and Pokemon Coliseum. Those games, I mean, XD had 9 wild Pokemon, but those didn't work like normal Pokemon. It was there were no wild battles, so it was only versus trainers where you'd be getting your experience. Now, the real difference there is that XD and Coliseum had the titular Coliseums, where you could go and just grind out some experience. My question is maybe they're going to, or not even question, but my theory is that they might be implementing some sort of like battle facility. I don't think like Battle Frontier, but maybe
instead of one central battle location, it'll be something like a town-by-town basis. You'll have the gym maybe, but then you might also have within the gym or another building.
We'll see how it goes. I'm not too concerned about the lack of grinding. I think they're going to figure it out because one of the most fun things is getting your Pokemon up to level 100. Yeah. They'll find a way to do it.
There's plenty of ways to solve this, in quotation marks, problem. Because it's not really a problem.
As long as they deal with it. If they don't make it a problem, it's not going to be a problem. But I think that's the last thing in the miscellaneous category that I wanted to tackle. So I guess we'll just talk about the fact that this game is going to be linkable with Pokemon Go. Which, first of all, Game Freak, you suck. I don't want to play Pokemon Go, but you're making me do it now.
Anyone remember when Niantic was making Ingress? Because I do. I remember that game. I remember it was a mess. Oh boy.
And
Smurf accounts everywhere.
Good. But so apparently the details of the connectivity, I checked it out on Cerebi beforehand, is you can catch Pokemon in Pokemon Go and then transfer them into a place called Pokemon Go Park in Pokemon Let's Go, like the PAL Park.
Yeah. I'm thinking, is that PAL Park is not the friend codes, but when you transfer Fire Red up into Gen 4?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. Because Pokemon Go gameplay is basically the Safari Zone, there's no purpose for the actual Safari Zone in Fuchsia City. So my personal theory is that instead of having the Safari Zone, we're going to have Pokemon Go Park, where apparently it's going to be that you go there and then you can capture them in Pokemon Let's Go. But you were saying this a little bit earlier, and I agree with you. If you have like a Moltres and transfer it over to Pokemon Let's Go, you're going to break the game. So they probably will have to put in, my personal theory is that it's going to be, you can bring over most Pokemon before completing the game, but you can bring over Legendaries once you've like beaten the Elite Four or something.
Most likely, but if you can't transfer it back, I feel like a lot of people would prefer to have their Legendaries within Pokemon Go rather than Pokemon Let's Go.
I mean, I'm going to disagree just because I don't want to have anything. Pokemon Go does not associate with fun for me.
Well, if we think about the purpose of having strong legendary Pokemon to throw in a gym.
Yeah. But just the fact that you can transfer them over, I'm interested to see that, because these games are like Pokemon Let's Go. They exist in like a weird gray area between spin-off and main series. They remind me of the Pokemon XD and Coliseum games. So it could be that once we get the Gen 8 games, we can bring your Pokemon up from Let's Go, even though it's a spin-off-esque game, into the actual main series games, which I think would be kind of fun.
Which might, considering that fact, if you can transfer Pokemon from Kanto into the new main series game. Now, I'm not asking for Black and White to happen again, where we get a full new roster of Pokemon and see nothing of the previous games. But if we have this alternative method of getting Pokemon from an earlier generation, we might see less of relying on older generations, which I have no problem with, because in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I didn't really pay attention to the fact that you had older generation Pokemon showing up, because they were just part of the region, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
But I always did love what Black and White did in creating its own self-contained roster.
Yes. It
was a whole new experience.
Mm-hmm. So the only thing that we've seen that you can actually send to Pokemon Go is the quote-unquote special Pokemon. Now, the Pokemon Company has actually confirmed this Pokemon is going to be a never-before-seen Pokemon. Like, this is going to be from Gen 8. So, I'm again reminded of XD and Coliseum, because in Pokemon XD, there's a short little runaround that you have to do for a Bonsly. You have to bring it somewhere. I can't remember. It's been like a couple years since I've played XD last. But XD. Yes. But Bonsly wasn't introduced until Gen 4 properly. So I think we're getting something like that again, which I'm all for. I think that's pretty cool. Anything to say on that?
I'm excited to see what it is. Of course, we can't judge all of a generation's Pokemon based on what they reveal, because as we saw, Bonsly may not be the best representation of what Generation 4 had to offer.
You're right, Bidoof is.
Bidoof. Now, if they gave us a Bidoof, I would have been...
but... Yeah.
I do like this idea, this little teaser within the game.
Mm.
If it weren't for the fact that everything is now so interconnected that you don't need to have the game to know what it is, unlike the earlier days of the game where the internet wasn't quite as prevalent. So if you really wanted to know what it was, you either had to play it or know a friend who had it. I still like the idea in concept. I think it's it's very... I'm not even sure what word to use it, but I do enjoy the idea of the reveal of one Generation 8 Pokemon. It's a fun idea.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you really want to say about Pokemon Go. I mean, the thing that's really interesting to me is that a main series spin-off, I don't even know what to classify Let's Go as, is going to have connectivity with a game with microtransactions.
So I don't think
they're not like game-breaking microtransactions, but I just think it's interesting.
I don't think Let's Go will be part of the core main series, but it's treading very close, and I think that's what it's supposed to do in its purpose as that bridging force.
Right, that's also something we need to talk about. And first of all, I actually think it's probably going to be... I think we're probably going to classify it as, like, in the same vein as XD and Coliseum. Games that I personally consider main series. But honestly, it will all depend on the connectivity with the other games for Let's Go.
I think in certain lights, this could be considered main series. I'm not sure if at this point I can consider it that. Maybe with further looking into the game, playing the game, who knows? My opinion on that might change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. But as you said, I think it's probably important that we talk about the target demographic for Pokemon Let's Go. this is very clearly meant to appeal to one of two different types of people. Aside from like your core Pokemon games, like Pokemon fans like Matt and myself. It's supposed to appeal to the people who, played Pokemon like Red and Blue, fell out of the series, realized there's now like 800 Pokemon, I can't get back into this, picked up Pokemon Go for a little bit, thought it was kind of fun when it was the only original 151, but were just too overwhelmed to pick up another main series title. So this could bridge the gap for them and bring them back into being a main series Pokemon fan. The second group of people, which I think is honestly the bigger group, is the people who've never played a Pokemon game other than Pokemon Go. And those people, there's a lot of them. Actually, I have a good friend who I talked to shortly before this podcast.
Is he the same one that we're borrowing the microphone from?
Yep, this is his microphone. He played Pokemon Go, and then off of my recommendation, he played Pokemon Sun, which he enjoyed. He wasn't like raving about it, but one of the main things he said was that it was a little bit overwhelming.
Getting dropped into Gen 7
mm-hmm.
is
and even
understandably
with,
so.
And the interesting thing was, even with where it said the moves would be like super effective against different types, the main thing was just that there were so many different Pokemon. There was a regional dex of like, what, 300?
Yeah, there was just so many things to take in.
Yeah.
You had to learn how the game functioned alongside learning all these different Pokemon and all these different mechanics that, in our eyes, were just one or two new things because we had already figured out the rest of the game. For him, he had to learn the base game, the new stuff, and everything else.
Yeah. But yeah, so that speaks to the second set of people who started with Pokemon Go and are interested in Pokemon but are a little overwhelmed. This is going to be a great way to bridge the gap because it's some Pokemon Go gameplay with just one of the more simple Pokemon games.
Well, I think for one, it's going to bridge old players hopefully back into the main series and new players hopefully into the main series. But at the same time, it's going to bridge those two groups together. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm. And also, one thing to keep in mind is that it's going to get more people to buy Switches.
Yes.
Because you don't have a Switch yet.
I don't.
I have a Switch. I'm going to be picking this up day one. And I know that you said in the past, I'll get a Switch when they put Pokemon on the Switch. Now
I also said I'd get a Switch once I had purchased a car, but that's long since gone. And now I'm saving up for college.
Ooh, I just hit my funny bone. That's good. Yes.
College is a bit of a, let's just say college is a road bump on the road to getting a Switch.
Yeah.
Because that's how I should view it.
Road bump.
A road bump.
Instead of a speed bump?
No, a road bump.
Yes. Oh, I just hit my funny bone. That's good. Yes, I feel ascended with the rest of the earth. Yeah, so it's going to get more people buying Switches, and just as a Switch owner, like, there's so many great games. You've got, like, Xenoblade 2, you still need to finish Xenoblade 1. I'm putting that on the record here. Then you've got, like, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. All of these are phenomenal games that your Pokemon fans who just haven't gotten a Switch yet, they're going to be able to get those games as well, which I think is good.
No, I do look forward to playing all of those games, and I think, I mentioned college again, I think it's the perfect console to pick up and bring.
Yeah. The other thing this does is it plugs a hole in Nintendo's release schedule, because last year we had Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. That was a great start.
They came in fast and they came in hard.
Yeah, those are.
They knew what to release.
Those are two like series highlights. And then also Xenoblade 2. I love that game. This year, I don't want to say it's slow because we got Papa Sakurai starting up the hype train for Smash again, and that's probably going to be coming around at the same time. And if you remember, a couple years back, you had Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire releasing on the same day as Smash Wii U. I think we might be getting another situation like that, in which case hype thrusters to full.
I might as well just empty out my wallet now.
Yeah. Speaking of emptying out your wallet, let's talk about Pokeball Plus.
Oh.
This is like new age Pokewalker. And I'm pretty sure everybody here knows what Pokewalker is, but if you don't, it was an accessory that they bundled with every copy of Heart Gold and Soul Silver at launch.
I felt actual sadness when mine eventually died.
Yeah, mine is... I've honestly been trying to get a new one, but they're expensive. It was... You could send Pokemon over to the Pokewalker, and then it was a pedometer where you could walk around with them, and after walking around enough, you could run into wild Pokemon, you could catch them, you could find items. It was really fun because you could also connect with other people who had Pokewalkers. It was simple, but I was in 3rd grade when I got my Pokewalker, and everybody else had a Pokeball. It was a ton of fun. The Pokeball Plus, I don't know if they've detailed its connectivity further than what I know, but you can clearly take your Pokemon on strolls like the Pokewalker. But what it also does, well, A, it also serves as a controller for Pokemon Let's Go, and B, it serves as the Pokemon Go Plus, which was I think it was like a $30 accessory that would flash and vibrate when you found a wild Pokemon, and then you would just press to throw.
I forgot that it existed until you brought it up today.
Which putting that in with this Pokeball Plus, I think just makes more sense. I think this is a bit more bang for your buck. I'll be buying this, even though it's probably going to cost like $50.
Bang for your buck when that buck is another full game.
Yeah. But I'm an idiot, so I'm going to be getting it. Who knows? It could be good, it could be terrible. But I just want to walk around with my Pokemon again.
I cannot judge anyone for buying it.
Yeah. But saying it's controller brings up another interesting thing. In the trailer, we only ever see people using one Joy-Con or the Pokeball Plus to control the game. I'm fine with that. What I just hope that they don't make it so that you cannot control it with like a Pro Controller. The unfortunate thing is that I think they might be doing that because of the fact that you need the gyro. And granted, the Pro Controller has gyro, but it will be really awkward to try and throw a Pokeball with your Pro Controller.
It's gonna feel like you're pistol whipping someone with the controller.
Pistol whip to catch. Zubat is asleep. But oh god, we're gonna have to try and do like Pokemon Go catching of Zubats again. Oh, that was not a good time at launch. But yeah, I hope that the control scheme is pretty good, because not being able to get down with a game's control scheme is kind of a very high barrier to entry.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's see here.
I mean, if we really want to talk about control schemes, obviously the I should know the name.
Pokeball Plus.
The Pokeball Plus, right? It's got buttons and motions that are bound to certain inputs that you would find on the Joy-Con.
Right.
Which means hypothetically, you could maybe use it to control other games in a certain regard. So I'm waiting for the day that once Smash has come out, that someone shows up to a tournament holding nothing but a Pokeball, and you just know that they're about to wipe the floor with everyone.
Oh, that would be great, because there's 2 buttons on it. There's like the on and off button, and then there's the actual joystick. Which, by the way, I love the fact that the Pokeball button itself is a joystick. That's awesome to me. I think
it's smart design.
I think it's kind of adorable. But yeah, I don't think there's really anything else that's important to cover right now. Do you have any final closing thoughts?
There's that one scene where we see Magikarp breaking.
That's what it was. That's what it was. That reminds me of Magikarp Jump.
Magikarp breaking atmosphere.
Yeah. Do you remember Magikarp Jump?
I remember Magikarp Jump.
I just want Magikarp Jump to be a game mode in Pokemon Let's Go, and my life will be complete.
Listen, I don't know if maybe that's a mini game or if that's Magikarp using Splash or what have you, but I think this is the glory that Magikarp has been deserving since its inception.
Yeah, because Magikarp's moveset is what? Tackle, Flail, Splash?
Splash, and Flail.
None of those moves, maybe Splash, have him
because in the lore, in the Pokedex, it specifically states that certain Magikarp gets strong enough to leap entire mountains. This dude is breaking, he's hitting terminal velocity and breaking out of atmosphere.
Exit velocity.
Yeah, it's exit velocity, not terminal. Terminal's when you're falling. Though he does return to the surface. And he's
On fire.
On fire. He's going to hit like kinetic bombardment. And I don't want to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, you remember the what was it, the second G.I. Joe movie where it's like Project Zeus where they drop the rods from God? What if they just like kinetic accelerate a Magikarp into London? I want this. Game Freak, get on it. G.I. Joe crossover with Magikarp jump.
Or it could be a Call of Duty Ghost crossover.
We don't talk about Call of Duty anymore. Nah,
You're right, I'm leaving.
Well,
I've shamed our families.
all right. Well, I think that's about it. Do you have any other closing thoughts?
I still don't know if I'm going to get the game yet. I might
You're
have
friends
to.
with me. I'm going to make you get the game.
That's what I was about to say. I might have to wait to see your gameplay and then hear your opinion on the actual gameplay. If I'm going to be picking up a Switch, I can almost guarantee that at some point I will be picking it up.
And here's also.
But
the
right
thing
now,
here.
I don't know if I'm going to be purchasing the game.
The thing is, because there's co-op, you could always just try.
I could experience the game before having to purchase it.
Yeah, but that might also your view might change when they release more trailers and more information.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. This is still very early. The game.
There's very
like
few
2 days ago.
games where I know right from the start I'm going to want to buy that game.
Mm.
And this just falls into that category of not being sure yet.
Yeah.
Most of the time, games that I pick up and love have been on the market for a few weeks, maybe a few months. And I've had time to experience what people have had to say about it, maybe watch a video or two on it, and start to form an opinion before I rush into a purchase. And right now, I'm hesitant, but I have high hopes.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic, is what I'm saying.
It's an experimental title, and I think Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have every right to make this game. And I have no complaints about them making this game, and I think people should go out, play it, and enjoy it, and share how they think and what they feel. But I don't know if I feel like I'm going to buy the game at this point in time.
Yeah. And who knows, and even if you get the game, it might not be at launch.
Yeah. Well, most games that I get aren't at launch, except for the main series Pokemon games. Funnily enough.
Yeah, so we'll see where this lands, but I don't know. I think we'll end it on the cautiously optimistic note. Don't screw it up, Game Freak. We will never forgive you.
Or we could finish it on this note.
Did you just put your water glass down as loud as possible?
I've spent the rest of this treating it like an Indiana Jones swap out for the treasure. I had to release this pent-up normal cup put down. Normal cup
This
put
is
down.
this is what counts for comedy here. All right.
Normal cup put down.
So on that note, hey, thanks for listening to this podcast, all 0 of you.
Maybe 1 if we're
Maybe
lucky.
1. Well, yeah, but hey, thanks for tuning in. I have been Storm Waffle. I'm going to continue to be Storm Waffle. And this is Prototypical.
That's with 2 zeros.
Yeah. You can find him at twitch.tv/prototypical with 2 zeros.
Actually, that one's with 1 0. Someone nagged the name before.
So 1 0, redact what I just said. Not even retract, redact. No captions on this video. Just a black swipe across the bottom of the screen. But yeah, thanks for listening, and have yourselves a good one.